Hello, and welcome back to Knowledge, our college football and NFL show. We cover all things football, and this past couple weeks we've been getting ready for the upcoming college football season, going through our predictions for the season, who we think is going to come out on top, and we've been working our way through the SEC. This is part 2 of 2. Now we're going to get through generally the SEC East with the addition of Texas this year, and things are going to look a lot different. It's going to be really interesting storylines, a lot of competitiveness in the SEC this year, and it's going to be a great time. So let's get into it. Let's start with the Georgia Bulldogs, right? So an over-under win total of 10.5. Now, Georgia last season obviously did not meet their expectations. They played no one until the first real team they played, Bama. They got soundly beat by.
Soundly by 3 points.
Yeah, but it was decisive. Like, no one was doubting, like, oh, Bama earned that win. So, Georgia, pretty angry. Obviously, their chance at three-peat got spoiled, and so they're hoping to bounce back in the new SEC this year. But that schedule is really, they're getting their recompense, their payback for having the all cupcakes last year. And it's tough. Now, I've still got the over, though, because they're Georgia. They're Georgia, and look, I'm not going to pick Georgia to win 10 games until that actually happens. It seems...
It's not going to happen.
Seems pretty dang low for me. So I've got the over here. I've got them getting... I do have them losing a game. I would pick them to be right 11-1 this year. I don't think they're perfect. Their schedule's just too tough with that. I think one of the Clemson, Bama, Texas, Tennessee, one of those four, I think they're going to drop. As to what it is, it's hard to say. I would say maybe at Texas and at Bama are the biggest contenders. Maybe even at Ole Miss too. I shouldn't leave them out. They could really surprise people and finally get a actual win, a legitimate win. Yeah, I mean they're Georgia with Carson Beck returning. He'll be good enough, I think, to really propel them forward, and it should be just. I would say a return to dominance by Georgia. I think they're in the SEC title. I would pick them to win the SEC this year. I know that's not very original, but it's just I have a hard time seeing a lot else. What about you, Charlie? You share my thoughts?
I unfortunately have to agree with this guy's icy cold takes.
I know.
The
coldest of the cold, right?
Coldest of the cold.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna lose. They'll lose one game, I think. But if you look at it, I think they have really only 3 competitive games: at Ole Miss, at Texas, at Bama. And then if you look at what they did to Ole Miss last year, that shouldn't be close. But I think out of Texas and Bama, I do think they dropped one of those. But there's no way to drop both those. I mean, the roster, they return almost. They don't really lose anyone meaningful. And it's going to be stacked again. They'll be the best team in college football again. And they'll be
they can focus on not speeding too much.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah. They're gonna slow down. They're gonna speed their way to a national title.
Yeah.
Should be all over the thing. Georgia has raced their way into the SEC title. But James, you have different thoughts here?
I mean, not much to say here. It's a Kirby Smart Georgia team. I mean, given to the players stay out of the county jail, they're probably gonna hit 11 wins. But I'll be different here for the sake of not having a sweep. I'll take the under, bold under. I think, like y'all said, Bama and Texas, 2 tough games. Ole Miss, it's really going to depend on if they actually make a leap this year to a contender or if they're just going to be pretenders again. Clemson game probably won't be that competitive. Maybe a couple of others like Florida Auburn are, but most likely I would say 10-2, obviously. Obviously 11-1 is pretty likely as well, so yeah, they're going to be good.
And that Clemson game is going to be big.
Big blowout.
Really more for Clemson than anyone else. Do we think there's any chance Georgia drops that one?
No, Clemson doesn't play.
Clemson's
defense will keep it close.
I would think that Georgia has a higher chance losing at home to Auburn or Florida or Tennessee.
No, that's disrespectful. Auburn.
Florida or Tennessee. Florida or Tennessee and Clemson.
Especially because it's that far into the season, it's a kind of grueling.
Well, Florida's a neutral site.
That's
world's largest cocktail party.
That 4-game stretch of Texas, Florida, Mississippi, Tennessee, that's a tough stretch there.
Tough for regular teams.
Yeah, tough for
you gotta look at it everyone on their schedule. They're looking at Georgia as the hardest team. That's their tough game. So it's like
I said, Georgia has earned the benefit of my doubt. We talked about Texas A&M where I don't trust them yet. I trust Georgia in this one, so I'm gonna keep with the over here. Now let's move on to really the other, I'd say, biggest contender in the SEC this season, at least with a lot of people. The newcomers, the Texas Longhorns. Same as Georgia, 10.5 over under. And, well, I got the over here again, actually. I think these two teams are going to be the face-up in the SEC title.
Someone's icy cold takes.
Oh, I know.
Exactly.
Someone's icy.
I
You're
It's
really
just
stretching
chills you down.
it there for that.
I know,
Real
I know.
stretching it.
It's a real tough one to pick here. Real original. But you just look at the returning talent with Ewers and Sarkisian. They finally kind of broke through last year to the elite level. And I would say right now they're among college football's elite. They've earned that title, and I think they stay in it this year. I think even though the schedule, yes, it's tough. You get Georgia, you got the non-conference Michigan game, and I think you got what will be a very tough game at A&M at the end of the season. But James, you can probably say more about that. What do you have here?
You know, I actually like the Longhorns team a lot this year. I mean, you can't deny it. They got Quinn Ewers, Heisman caliber quarterback. They return most of their players, maybe lose some wide receivers. So I think I had the over, but looking here, like, I think 10.5 is a very high win total for them. They went, 11-1 in the Big 12 last year. And then now this year, they play Oklahoma, obviously. They lost to Oklahoma last year. And then now they play Georgia, at Texas A&M, and then Michigan. Michigan, obviously, you can't overlook that.
No.
So, who says they aren't going to drop 2 of those games? I think it's very likely. So I would have them sitting at exactly 10-2 here. Still being, obviously, competing for SEC title. But I think having 11 wins, that's pretty high win total for Texas in the first year.
I could see them even breaking through and beating Georgia at home, like they did with Bama last year, getting that big win. But then I could see them dropping, like, maybe even a Texas A&M at the end of the season, kind of not expecting the rivalry clash, or in Oklahoma again, something like that. But who knows?
I have the under. So the way I see it, I don't think they lose to Michigan. I think they score a bit too much, but I think they drop Georgia. I think Oklahoma. That's kind of a hot take.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go 10-2. And so the question mark a lot of people point out is the wide receivers, but they lose A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, but they get Isaiah Bond, and they also have plenty of good recruits there, so I don't think that's questioned. I think the biggest question is really the D-line. They lose their 2 best D-linemen, Sweat and Murphy. I don't think the only good part of their defense last year was the pass rush, but I think their defense will struggle this year, and that's how they're going to lose those 2 games, especially against Oklahoma.
And we talked about the moving from the Big 12. They might not be prepared. The SEC is at another level, just physicality, talent, and coaching-wise.
That's what they said about when they played Bama, though. They said Bama was the best of the best in the SEC.
But are they playing the level of teams that, maybe not playing the level of Bama, but are of a similar caliber week after week after week? That could be a different story,
10-2.
So we'll see what happens. All right, now let's move on to the Missouri Tigers. Really had a breakout success last year with that New Year's 6 victory over Ohio State, 11 wins. Now this year, they got that over-under at 9.5, which is pretty high. And I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, this is high. Because I think, look, I'm not sold on Missouri this year. I think they could easily have been a kind of one-hit wonder last season. But I got the over here just looking through the schedule. I mean, let's say the toughest teams they play are, they got A&M, they got Alabama, and they got Oklahoma. I would say those are the biggest contenders. Maybe Auburn too. But
it was like Auburn stuff.
Well, let's say those 3 games. Those 3 games. I don't think they lose all 3 games. I don't think they go winless in every single competitive game this year. And maybe they have a random slip up along the road. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if this team regresses a lot from last year. Not sold on them, but for now, I'm going to just place enough trust in them to get to that 10 wins with how easy their schedule is. If this was really any other schedule, Texas or Georgia, I think they got a way worse record if they were in their place. But, that schedule is not bad at all.
This kind of one of my hot takes, too. I think they regress a lot. I have a big under. I think it's kind of like Michigan State's only won 1. They won 11-2, regressed a lot the next year. They actually don't lose a lot, but they lose Cody Schrader, so I don't think their running game will be good at all. I don't know how that work, but I mean their schedule is not that tough, but I think 8-4, 7-5. I mean they can really just their non-conference is so easy they can just sim it like an NCAA.
Yeah, I mean I think they're gonna start out 4-0 right off the bat, and then go into Texas A&M, and that's the first test. I mean I kind of have a view that's splitting both of yours. I think they're gonna regress from last year. but they're not going to be terrible. They'll probably hit exactly that 9-3. Either lose those 3 competitive games or maybe win one, but slip up on another one. I just don't see them getting 10 wins this year. They're probably going to fall back a little.
Yeah, there's a chance they're a worse team and yet have a similar record anyway. It's just because of the schedule. But we'll see. Now let's move on to the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm representing them a bit. Yeah, sorry, I'm biased.
Jumping on the bandwagon.
No. I have attended the university.
Okay.
So last year, I wouldn't say it was super underwhelming, but it wasn't overwhelming either. It was just kind of whelming.
Whelming?
For Tennessee, if that makes sense. Yeah, you know?
That is kind of true.
Is that not right?
One of the most overhyped teams. Lost every one of their big games.
Yeah. Well, they had that victory over a talented Iowa team. They really worked hard at that one. Gosh. So Josh Heupel's coming back this year, and there's a lot of hype, and I think this team kind of lives or dies by their quarterback. By Nico, I'll get used to his name later. I'm not going to bother with it right now. I think really that will determine his how elite he is will determine how this season goes for them along the way. And I think with 8.5 and over under, I think they do just good enough to get above that. I've got the over. I'd have them right at 9 wins. I would say that non-conference game, NC State, that's going to be a tough one right off the bat. But then Oklahoma, Bama, Georgia, those all be big tests. I think they can get by just enough to scrape to 9 wins and kind of have a similar enough year as last year, to be honest, maybe a little better. But what about you, James?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my hot takes was that Tennessee struggles a little bit this year, and looking at the schedule, it's probably going to be a lot like last year. You know, they lose to the good teams and beat up on the worst teams. So I'm obviously not sold on defense, but Nico could shine, and that could get him past some of these teams. But I think this is a favorable win total for them too. 9-3 is something that's very possible for this team. All they would have to do is, beat like Florida, and then they can lose to the 3 other harder like Oklahoma, Bama, and Georgia, and then that'd be 9-3. But I'll take a slight under here. Maybe they drop NC State, maybe Florida.
And people are hyping up Nico a lot. I'm not sold on it yet because if anyone actually watched that Iowa-Tennessee Citrus Bowl, they'll know that Iowa's offense, and specifically Deacon Hill, the quarterback, essentially gave Tennessee like 21 points. So he was responsible for like a 21-point swing there. Mm-hmm. So he was Tennessee's the MVP of that game for Tennessee, really.
I also have an under for this one. I think about 8-4 is the right spot. I don't trust them enough to be like Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, and the way I see it, I think the defense will struggle a bit in those games. The pass rush, it's going to be really good with James Pierce again. But I don't think defense also let up. Also, I do think Nico, he's going to be pretty good, but I don't know how much they have around him. They don't have Jalen Hyde anymore. Cedric Tillman. They don't have like Jabari Small at back. I don't think they have much talent around him.
About Squirrel White?
Yeah.
Squirrel White.
Your guy, Squirrel White, Charlie.
Bro is such a goofy name.
Yeah. Yeah, you
I don't think they have
almost
much
ran
talent
into
around
him
him.
when we were there, right, Charlie?
Oh yeah, that was fine. Shout out to Uncle Bernie.
Yeah. All right, now let's move on to the Florida Gators, perhaps the most like pitiable team this year, I guess.
Yeah.
Like you just look at them and you look at their schedule and like you just feel bad. Like I'm gonna read off their schedule because it's just so brutal. I just let every team's list just sit in like a dagger to every Florida fan out there. Starting off the season with Miami, Florida, okay, and then you get Samford, okay, fine. Then A&M, Mississippi State, UCF. So you got 2 technically Power 5 non-conference games to go along with your SEC schedule. Then you got
3 actually with Florida State.
Oh gosh, yeah, they're coming at the end of the season, yeah. So, but just so far. So then Tennessee. This is when the stretch starts. The brutal. Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State to close out the
Bro,
season.
I would just walk out if I was them.
It's easily the most brutal schedule I've ever seen. And like if Billy Napier gets this team to a bowl game, like build a statue of him outside Florida Stadium, outside the swamp, just because it's gonna be tough. They're gonna have to win every single contestable game basically. They have to win Miami. They have to win Mississippi State, UCF, Kentucky, probably even A&M too if they want to get to a bowl game. And it's just not looking good for them. I've got the under here. I just don't see it. Like the Vanderbilt athletic director, like I'm looking at the schedule. I don't see it. You guys see 5 wins here? Like
I just see 5 wins. I think Florida Gators are returning back to a bowl game after the drought. And so big game with 2 coaches. Seats getting a little hot. Miami. That determines their bowl season. But
yeah,
let's be real. They're not going to win any of the last 5 games probably. So they need to get 5-6 wins before then. They need Kentucky. They need A&M. There's no room for error in the first 7 games because those are the only breaks they're going to get. In the last 5, it's over by then.
Yeah, right. Just give up on the season now.
They're not making a bowl. I'm going to be real with you, but my pick personally would be the over with repeating 5 and 7.
Yeah,
I mean they're still a talented team. I think if they get it off to a good start, I think they can beat Miami and they're going to beat those other lower SEC teams. But it's still funny, like looking at it. I mean, even like the easiest team in their schedule is what Stanford, and they struggled with Stanford a few years back. So who knows? But I think they beat Miami, Mississippi State, UCF, Kentucky, and they can get 5 wins. It's just like they have the potential behind their talent, and Graham Mertz has improved at least a bit, where they can beat some of those better teams. I just don't know if they will. So they're gonna sit right around at 5 wins.
Yeah, Graham Mertz kind of surprised me. He did pretty decent actually in Florida last year. I don't think actually this Florida team will be that bad. I just think their schedule is so brutal that I think they'll be much better than their 4 wins that I'm picking them to have would indicate.
So it says according to like the preseason rankings, they're gonna play 8 teams. So if they go 8-4, do you guys think they make the playoffs?
I mean,
serious question.
They can be like they could go like 8-4 and be like a top 10 team.
Do you think they make the playoffs?
If they lose like Texas,
I mean that'd be
if
when
they go
like
Texas,
LSU,
Georgia,
Tennessee, Miami. Texas,
If they go 9-3, absolutely no question.
But 8-4, that's 4 ranked wins. Like worst case scenario, 8-4.
They could
Texas
be
4
A&M.
losses too, though.
Yeah, but no, but those are all to like really good teams that lose to. They'd have to win against like
Texas
LSU,
A&M,
Texas A&M.
If it's
Miami,
any of those
Tennessee.
5, I don't know about Miami or Tennessee.
The only losses
but
would be to really good
like
teams.
LSU, Texas, Georgia, and then like A&M or Ole Miss. Those could all be like top 10 teams. Where if they have losses to them, I mean, then that really needs to be a conversation. Is how if this Florida team deserves to be in.
No 8-4, but yes 9-3. 8-4 is just stretching it too far.
But their only losses would be
But
to
like looking at that SEC bias, are they going to take a
what is it?
8-4 Florida team over like
11-1 Big 12.
yeah something like that? You know,
they'll try.
Big
to
12
get-
play like one
played a
team.
lot tougher.
Fair point.
And
Big
I
12
contested.
plays all like reach drivers.
Now,
every week.
all right, close out this segment. I just want one word answer from each of you, yes or no. Does Billy Napier make it through the end of the season?
He has to make a bowl.
But yes or no?
If he makes a bowl, yeah.
He
I would say no.
Okay, no.
He needs to be at least 5-2 going into those
You're
last
missing the
5
one
games.
word answer part of this.
Yes, but he needs to be 5-2 going into those last 5 games.
Yes.
At least.
I've got-
6-1 probably.
I've got no's just because I don't think he will be 5-2.
Because
But
they're
if he makes a bowl, he should be.
Because they're not going to win any of the last 5 games,
Yes.
most likely.
Because Florida really wants to be competitive, and they're just not right now. They've fallen on hard times.
Lane train rolling in. Lane train is just.
I could see it. I absolutely could, really.
Delusional.
That's not delusional. That's only a reasonable thing.
All right.
Literally look it up or whatever his name is favorite to go. Lane train.
Yeah, then Ole Miss will hate him too, just like Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's move on to the South Carolina. Now, over under of 5.5. Last season didn't get it, 5-7, and this year I've got the under again just because, I mean, you lose Spencer Rattler, you lose some talent, and just in the new SEC, I think it's going to be too competitive. I don't think they get to 6 wins here. I don't think they make a bowl, and maybe that could put a lot of pressure on Shane Beamer to really, because everyone forgets South Carolina. I mean, it's an SEC school. They got a huge stadium. They're into football there.
Yeah.
But people just forget about them all the time, me included. But yeah, look at the schedule. It's like I've said with some other teams. Some teams in the SEC are going to have to do worse this year, and this is just has to be one of them. It's just how the way things work. What are you, Sean?
I have a big under on this. Last year I took the under, no one believes me. He called me primal when I took the under, and I was right about that.
That was because he told me to do that. So.
Okay. I don't think they really have any offense talent. I mean, you lose Juice Wells, wide receiver. That's the only guy. You lose Spencer Rattler. They're starting really like a redshirt freshman QB. who, like, no disrespect to him, but
Goggles.
he kind of looks like a nerd. He has goggles. Lenore Sellers. I don't think he's much of a baller. I don't think they have enough offensive firepower. Their defense isn't be that good, so
Yeah.
they go 5-7, 4-8, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd be right about right. I mean, their non-con is not bad at all, so they can
Clemson.
probably get,
They got
besides
Clemson.
Clemson, but they can get those 3 wins automatically right off the bat because they play just 3
Nah,
nobodies.
they're sleeping on Old Dominion.
They play 3
Old
nobodies. They play 3
Dominion.
nobodies. But outside that, I really have a hard time seeing. They have Vandy.
Outside of
But-
that, it's just like
I have a hard time seeing 2 more
Vandy.
wins in the SEC outside of Vandy.
Kentucky.
Yeah, and even that's a
Kentucky's
stretch,
only
really. I
like
think.
4. I mean, you literally just look at it, and there's not 6 wins there.
Yeah, it's just
Those are the
doesn't
only
add
ones
up.
that can go
Let's be real.
either way. Is like Kentucky, maybe I don't know,
Exactly.
but like, it's an under for me. I mean, the Beaver ball is gonna continue to fall.
Beaver Fall. It's the
Beaver
start. It's the start of the
yeah,
Beaver Fall.
here.
Now let's move on to the Kentucky Wildcats. Mark Stoops, to many A&M fans, relief and satisfaction, is reprising his role as a Kentucky coach this year rather than coaching there. Gosh, that was so weird. Still,
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah, they really
weirdest
just canceled
scenario
him, bro.
events.
They just canceled him.
What
Yeah.
about-
He got canceled online basically instantly.
Dude got bullied.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bro, not bullied into not bullied.
It is kind of a bad thing if A&M's athletic director is swayed so easily by like some people on Twitter.
Well, he's gone now.
But well, yeah.
He's at Ohio State somehow, so. they
Now, Mark Stoops has been really very solid at Kentucky, and with an over-under of 6.5, I got them getting the over right at 7 wins. I think Kentucky's been solid enough for me a place to trust. I think they can get right to 7. I don't know if they'll get much higher than that just because of scheduling, but I think they can make their way there. What about you?
I have them under in Kentucky. I think 6-6 is the right spot. The defense, they return a lot. The defense will be good, but I don't know how good the offense will be. They get Brock Vandegrift at QB, Chip Trainum at running back. So they'll be right, but I don't know how well the offense is going to work. And I'm looking at that schedule. They're going to go 6-6. They're just not good enough to get 7 games. 7 games is for non-basketball schools.
I think they can just, hey, they're kind of figuring it out for themselves, which they are.
Imagine they upset Georgia week 3.
I think they can
ABC
get
prime
enough.
time.
Look, they can get South Carolina. Let's talk about SEC wins they can get, right? Because I think they get Louisville too.
No,
they owned them last,
I don't think they go.
They owned them last year when they were good.
Yeah.
No, they're sleeping on Louisville.
And it's at
Vandy?
Kentucky.
Vandy, South Carolina, Auburn.
Those are their only. I think those are their only 3 wins.
I think they could
They're
get. I think they
gonna-
could maybe get Florida too.
I-
Just
No,
because-
they're not getting Florida.
just because Florida.
If they
could
get
be so-
Florida, Bill Napier is gonna log out.
Florida could be so worn down just by everything they could just kind of log
Well,
out.
that's the
on
start of
season.
that.
Yeah, they might log out.
But,
Yeah, but who knows where they are at that point if they'd lost to Miami and A&M and stuff. But enough about Florida. What you got in Kentucky?
I'm gonna take a questionable over here.
Yeah.
I don't really know. Kentucky's one of the teams I don't really have strong feelings on. Don't really know enough about them or like Vandegrift. Feel super strongly, but looking at the schedule, I think they can repeat. You know, at like a 7-5. I think that's pretty reasonable. You beat Southern Miss, South Carolina, Ohio, Vandy. Maybe
Nah,
maybe Auburn and
This
Louisville
look
and Murray State.
Beware
They
of
basically,
Vandy.
they
Beware of
basically
Vandy.
need to beat Auburn, Louisville, or Florida, one of those 3, you know, and then they get to like 7 wins. So I think it's a reasonable pick. Like Chuck said, their defense is going to be solid. Offense is really the only swing that could have them lead them to a worse season here.
The
All right.
biggest story in the SEC.
Well, let's close out with the best of the best. The Vanderbilt Commodores with an over-under at
That's just
2.5. I mean, pathetic. Granted, they would have gotten the under last year. They went 2-10. They won the first 2 games, right? And everyone's getting hyped. Oh, it's Vandy time, and then they just lost everything else.
Yeah.
But give me the over on Vandy here. You know, I think they get that. I think they can get. I think they can do it. You know what? I think you give me Akron State, Georgia State, and Ball State there. That's it. Or maybe they scrape out some random SEC win like they did 2 years ago with South Carolina.
That's basically
Or
what I
something like that.
They won 3 games in the non-con and no SEC games.
Entirely.
I mean, last
possible,
year
yeah.
they won the 2 like actual easier games in non-con. The other ones was Wake Forest and UNLV, which are 2 better teams that you wouldn't expect. But then this year, I don't think Alcorn State, Ball State, or
Georgia State.
Georgia State, yeah. So they can beat them.
We're going to clean sweep here. I am taking the over.
Yeah.
We're all Vandy believers. You get Diego Pavia from wherever he's from, New Mexico State. No, I know these guys. I memorized the stuff in the offseason. Cedric Alexander come back. Pretty decent freshman running back last year. The offense will be rolling. I do think they lose a tough road game at Georgia State. They can't get rockets there. But I think we pull a huge upset. November 9th, South Carolina comes down. They're already defeated because their season's over.
South Carolina comes to town.
Yeah.
They're gonna be afraid to go and play Vandy.
They have goals for season. Vandy has no goals. Vandy has nothing to lose. That's how they get to 3.
Yeah.
We upset South
Yeah,
Carolina.
no, they beat Tennessee last game of the year.
Storm the field, single file, storm the field.
And I got a lot of respect for Clark Lee. I think he's
I
trying to
know.
do. I think he's trying to do like the most.
I don't have respect.
No,
He's trying to do the least he can.
No, he's trying. Like you look at, especially 2 years
Hey,
ago.
do
not last
they
year.
even
Last
have,
year
do they even
freaking
have a stadium
sucked.
this year? Like, what's the dig on
They don't
that?
have end
Like,
zones.
do they have?
They have the hanging.
like,
do they have a functioning
jumbotron.
jumbotron?
I think he's
Swinging.
trying to do a lot, but then you got to realize there's only so much you can do because it's Vandy. You know,
It's like you're still in the SEC though. You should be able to.
I think-
form like lower tier teams in Big 10 or Big 12.
it is like
so-
amazingly bad how bad they are.
Should be able to beat the UNLVs of the world.
Yeah, but they can't. Yeah, for everyone, how much everyone glorifies every team in the SEC is just amazing. Like Vanderbilt's far worse. I would
Vandy
say,
versus
than
Northwestern.
any Big Ten team.
Versus Northwestern.
Like in the past couple of years,
No, it's true.
easily.
Northwestern 2022 is under the chat.
In fact, I would probably take Northwestern
Hey,
there.
man, they're good this year.
But
Don't sleep
hey,
on
I
that.
think they do just enough to get the 3 wins and no more than that. So that'll do it for this episode. We will see you soon with the biggest win predictions.
Very Big Ten.
Yes, with the Big Ten. All 18 teams going to be in 2 parts, and it's going to be a great time, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.